In the early days of the ancient world, in a land wrapped in desert winds and sunburnt horizons, lived a young Egyptian woman named Hagar. Her name meant flight, but long before she ever ran into the wilderness, her life had already been shaped by journeys she did not choose. Hagar was not born into freedom. She had once lived among the river valleys of Egypt, where tall reeds moved with the Nile's breath. But somehow, whether by sale, by war, or by family arrangement, she found herself taken into the household of an elderly but wealthy man named Abram and his wife Sarai. She became Sarai's maidservant, and like many servants of those ancient days, her life was not fully her own. Abram and Sarai were kind compared to many masters of their time, but their kindness could not erase the reality. Hagar was bound to their household, living under their authority, her own dreams quieted beneath the expectations placed upon her. Years passed, and Hagar watched their tents rise and fall as they traveled across Canaan. She heard about the God they served, a God unlike the idols of Egypt, a God who spoke, who promised, who led, a God who told Abram that he would be the father of a great nation. But as Hagar observed them carefully, she noticed something else. Sarai was aging, and no child had come. The promise lingered, but the womb remained silent. The weight of those unfulfilled years pressed heavily upon Sarai. And then one day, driven by desperation and cultural customs of her time, Sarai made a painful decision, one that would change Hagar's life forever. Sarai approached Abram, her voice trembling with a mixture of resignation and resolve. "Look," she said, "the Lord has restrained me from bearing children. Go in to my maid. Perhaps I shall obtain children by her." In that single conversation, Hagar's path shifted. She was given no voice, no consent, no choice. She became part of a plan she did not design, a tool for fulfilling a promise that was not hers. And so Hagar became Abram's concubine, a deeply emotional role, heavy with expectations, pressure, and sacrifice. And soon she conceived. For the first time in her life, Hagar carried something that was truly her own. The moment she realized she was with child, something awakened inside her, a sense of worth. Whether it was pride, or woundedness, or years of buried frustration finally bubbling to the surface, Hagar began seeing herself as more valuable than the woman she served. And Sarai felt it. The tension grew sharp, words were exchanged, glances turned cold. And Sarai, wounded and angry, went to Abram. "My wrong be upon you," she cried. "I gave my maid into your embrace, and when she saw she had conceived, she despised me." Abram, caught between two women, one his wife, the other carrying his child, answered quietly but firmly, "Your maid is in your hand. Do to her as you please." With that permission, Sarai dealt harshly with Hagar. We do not know the details, but we can imagine the intensity, the emotional weight, the pressure, the atmosphere so suffocating that Hagar could bear it no longer. And so, one hot, desert-dry morning, Hagar ran. A pregnant woman, alone, in the wilderness. She did not take time to prepare. She did not pack food or gather clothing. She fled with only her pain and her unborn child. She ran south, toward Egypt, toward the land she once knew, though she did not know if she could reach it. Her footsteps were desperate, her heart pounding with fear. The desert wind lashed against her. The silence screamed louder than Sarai's voice. At last, exhausted, thirsty, and trembling, Hagar collapsed beside a spring of water on the road to shore. There, in her loneliness, abandoned, rejected, misused, unmisunderstood, something happened that had never happened to her before. Someone spoke her name. A voice, gentle yet powerful, broke through the desert heat. "Hagar, Sarai's maid, where have you come from and where are you going?" She froze. No human was near. No traveler approached. And the one who spoke knew her name. He knew her story. He knew her position. This was not a man. This was the angel of the Lord. And for the first time, Hagar realized something astonishing. Heaven had found her. A servant, a foreigner, a rejected woman in the wilderness. She answered honestly, her voice weary and cracked, "I am fleeing from the presence of my mistress." The angel replied with words she did not expect. "Return to your mistress and submit yourself under her hand." The instruction was difficult, yet it came with a promise. "I will multiply your descendants exceedingly, so that they shall not be counted for multitude. Behold, you are with child, and you shall bear a son. You shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord has heard your affliction." Ishmael. God hears. And then came words that struck deep into Hagar's soul, words that wrapped around her like water in the desert. "I see you." Overwhelmed, Hagar whispered the name she gave to the Lord, El-Roi, the God who sees me. For she said, "Have I also here seen him who sees me?" A servant woman, an Egyptian, a runaway, unloved, unchosen, unprotected. Yet God, not a messenger alone, but the Lord himself, met her, spoke to her, called her, blessed her, and saw her. Strengthened by this divine encounter, Hagar returned. She went back to the tension, back to the discomfort, back to the household where she had been wounded, but no longer as the same woman. She returned carrying a promise. Months later, Hagar gave birth to Abram's first son. The old patriarch wept as he held the infant. He named him Ishmael, exactly as the angel had commanded. Years passed. Ishmael grew strong and wild-spirited, like the prophecy spoken over him. Abram loved him, and Hagar raised him with the quiet pride of a mother who had met God face to face. But the story did not end there. When Ishmael was a teenager, God fulfilled his promise to Sarah, now called Sarah, and she miraculously gave birth to her own son, Isaac. And with Isaac's arrival, the old tensions resurfaced, sharper than before. One day Sarah saw Ishmael laughing, perhaps mocking, perhaps simply being a teenage boy. But to her, it was unacceptable. She turned to Abram and demanded, "Cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, with Isaac." Abram was torn with grief. Ishmael was his son, his firstborn, his blood. But God told Abram not to fear, assuring him that Ishmael too would become a nation. And so, once again, Hagar found herself wandering the wilderness, this time not pregnant, this time with a teenage boy by her side. Abram gave her bread and a small skin of water, and with that, she walked into the desert of Beersheba. The sun rose high, scorching their skin. The water ran out, and Ishmael, weak from thirst, stumbled on the sand. Unable to bear the sight of her son dying, Hagar placed him under a small shrub, the only shade she could find, then walked a short distance away and lifted her voice in agony. "Let me not see the death of the boy," she cried, weeping loudly. But heaven heard, just as he heard before. Then came the voice of the angel of God. "What ails you, Hagar? Do not fear, for God has heard the voice of the lad where he is. Arise, lift up the boy, and hold him with your hand, for I will make him a great nation." And then, right in front of her, God opened her eyes. She saw a well of water where moments earlier she had seen nothing but death. She rushed to it, filled the skin, and carried water to her son. And they lived, and Ishmael grew, and God was with him. The wilderness that once threatened them became the place where Ishmael thrived, becoming an archer, a wanderer, a man of the desert. And Hagar, once a runaway servant, became the mother of a nation. The God who saw her in her lowest moment held her through every one of her journeys, through rejection, through wilderness, through motherhood, through uncertainty, through pain. Hagar's story stands as a quiet testimony across the ages. No one is invisible to God. No one is forgotten. No suffering is unseen. No cry is unheard. He is still El-Roi, the God who sees.